California officially entering the chat over redistricting at the same time that Texas Democrats are now signaling they'll end their protest against Republican plans to gerrymander at least 5 Democratic districts out of existence.
It's not complicated. We're doing this in reaction to a president of the United States that called a sitting governor of the state of Texas and said, find me 5 seats. We're doing it in reaction to that act. They want to rig these elections, and they want the power that gerrymandering provides because they know what Donald Trump knows. He's going to lose the midterms.
That announcement from Governor Newsom allows Texas Democrats to end their weeks-long standoff. It saw them flee their state to try to deny Republicans the ability to pass those new congressional district maps. In a statement, the head of the Texas House Democratic Caucus saying this, quote, as Democrats across the nation join our fight to cause these maps to fail their political purpose, we're prepared to bring this battle back to Texas under the right conditions and take this fight to the courts. Newsom's push to redraw the map will not be as easy for him as it was for Republicans in Texas. Under California law, congressional districts are drawn every 10 years by a bipartisan commission. To change that, Newsom will have to get 2/3 of both chambers of the state legislature to approve putting a ballot measure on the ballot, a ballot proposition, and then Californians themselves have to vote to change the state's constitution. It's a gamble, even in a heavily Democratic state, but one that Newsom seems eager to make as he, you guessed it, eyes 2028 and is trying to cast himself as the Democrats' strongest voice against President Trump.
He's a failed president. Who else sends ICE same time having a conversation like this? Someone who's weak. Someone who's broken. Someone whose weakness is masquerading as strength. The most unpopular president in modern history.
All right, our panel is going to join us now in the arena. CNN legal analyst, former federal prosecutor Elliot Williams, CNN chief political analyst, former Obama senior advisor David Axelrod, CNN political commentator, former South Carolina state representative Bakari Sellers, and CNN senior political commentator, former political director for Mitch McConnell, Scott Jennings. Welcome to all of you. Thank you very much for being here. David Axelrod, how to put this? The posturing, the way that Gavin Newsom was looking at that camera, the way that they built that crowd behind him, the way he made this announcement, I mean, it very much feels like a political campaign speech rally behind this, trying to set himself up as a foil to Donald Trump. Not the first time he's done that. Is it going to succeed?
Well, I don't know about the second. I would say this. Certainly it did look like that. Yes, he seems to be running for president. Yes, there's a constituency within the Democratic Party that wants a muscular response to the president. He's trying to play that role. It's also true that the president did call the governor of Texas to try and find him 5 seats because he is worried about the midterms, and it is changing the rules in the middle of the game. And that's why the California Democrats want to act, and I think that's a different issue.
So, Bakari, if that is a different issue, are Democrats playing this the right way? I mean, there is definitely this bipartisan commission to draw these maps exists for a reason. Democrats have spent a lot of time arguing institutions, norms, do this, play by the rules, and he's basically saying, you know what, we're going to throw that out.
I don't think he's saying throw it out. I'm not the biggest Gavin Newsom cheerleader, but he's being reactionary to, as David said, this president actually going out in the middle of the census. We're not even at a point where you go through redistricting and he's rigging the rules in the middle of the game. I actually was in the legislature in 2010. I actually sat on South Carolina's redistricting committee. I've actually been a part of a case that talked about gerrymandering that went all the way to the United States Supreme Court. So I understand this issue intently. And what we're seeing, though, is I've always said that Democrats and Republicans alike, this is the most unsexy issue that will rip apart the fabric of our democracy. It's not necessarily January 6th. It's not necessarily Donald Trump. It's not these things. But redistricting, gerrymandering, how we draw these lines will rip away at the fabric of democracy. And that's what we're seeing right now. If it becomes a free-for-all, that's why the Voting Rights Act was so important. That's why John Roberts' efforts to just pull apart the Voting Rights Act was so important. That's why I believe, and this should be the overarching push, and this should be something that Scott Jennings and Bakari Sellers could agree upon. There need to be independent, non-elected commissions that draw these lines.
So do you think Newsom's wrong?
And I mean,
do
I
this?
think Newsom's playing politics, but he's playing politics in response to.
Is it good politics for him?
I mean, first of all, the priority for Gavin Newsom's always Gavin Newsom. So is it good politics for Gavin Newsom? I'm assuming there's a poll somewhere that says yes.
It's tricky politics, and here's why independent redistricting commissions are actually quite popular with California voters. They like this system that they've set up that they've had for about 2 decades or so. It gets different when you say, well, what if we change things to level the playing field with Donald Trump or to fight back against Donald Trump not playing fair? When the polls ask that question, California voters say, wait a second. But it's interesting, like they like what they have. And so over the next couple months, it really will be fascinating as to how it all plays out.
I totally disagree with one thing you said. This is extremely sexy. When we were preparing for the show,
Thank you.
I had to put Axelrod under a fan in the green room. You should have seen him back there. It was wild.
Thank you.
He was getting out of hand.
There's 6 minutes.
I mean, he was showing me.
First of all, it's 4 o'clock. I guess it is happy hour.
You know, redistricting maps are labeled NSFW on Axis. I'm just saying.
54 more minutes of this.
And here I said it would be fine to not have another woman on the panel.
Let me summarize Gavin Newsom's speech today. Gerrymandering is evil. Please vote for my gerrymandering. Of course, he failed to mention that it's already gerrymandered. Republicans get 40% of the vote in California. They have 17% of the congressional seats under a supposed independent redistricting commission. So we're going to further gerrymander the gerrymandering
By that
caused Texas
standard,
to act in the
by
first
that
place.
standard, Scott, Texas is also gerrymandered. So
You want to keep going? How about Illinois?
But
Where do you
here's the issue.
Texas acknowledged
readily
Illinois is
concede it.
gerrymandered.
No, on a regular census, the legislature there
Correct.
gerrymandered Illinois. That's right. It wasn't in the middle of the game. But let the other side, because I think, you can fuzzy up that, and I think you've got some good political, there's probably good sense politics behind fuzzying that up. But here's the problem, and you sort of touched on it. Donald Trump fundamentally does not believe in rules, in laws, in norms, in institutions. He believes in doing what's in his political self-interest, his personal self-interest. And if you are the other party and you are playing by the traditional rules and laws and norms and institutions, you're involved in asymmetric warfare because you've got someone who is willing not to play by the rules while you're playing by the rules, and that's what they're struggling with.
And even more, just
One second, Bakari, because to David's point, I want to underscore and play this something else that Gavin Newsom said here, because he basically made the argument that David is making here, and the way that he put it was rather evocative. Let's watch.
We need to disabuse ourselves of the way things have been done. It's not good enough to just hold hands, have a candlelight vigil, and talk about the way the world should be. We have got to recognize the cards that have been dealt. And we have got to meet fire with fire.
Not good enough to have a candlelight vigil, he says.
I mean, I agree with that. I mean, there has to be some level of fortitude that Democrats show, and I think that is the palpable type of frustration that you feel from Democrats. They don't see it from Chuck Schumer. They're tired of the Hakeem Jeffries videos that are just kind of in the Netherlands where he talks with his hands. Like, people want to see this type of reaction. I will say this, though, just to build on David's point a little bit more. Like, Donald Trump is everything that you said, but he likes to win more than all of those things. And if his policies were popular, if he thought he was going to win re-election, this wouldn't be a thing. If Epstein files weren't a thing, this wouldn't be a thing. So all of the things that he's doing, he is trying to, and he's doing a good job. It's called, in politics, it's called flooding the zone. Every single day is something else. It's DC, it's this, it's that, it's everything else, because he's flooding the zone. And if he thought that he could win with a big, beautiful bill, if he thought his policies in DC were so important, if he did X, Y, and Z, this would not be an issue. And I would just offer, if Republicans thought they could win, they wouldn't be changing the rules.
I mean, Scott, there is a point, if you don't call Abbott and ask for 5 more seats if you don't think you need them.
Well, he's trying to get any kind of advantage that he can. Hardly unusual for a politician or a political party. I totally disagree with you about the popularity of his policies. I think Democrats are on the wrong side of violent crime. I think they're on the wrong side of illegal immigration. And I think they're on the wrong side of virtually every cultural issue he's put in play. I think we're going to be quite fine fighting that out.
So the principal issue that people are coping with in this country is the cost of things. Today, wholesale prices jumped a full point, the biggest in 3 years. So you can talk about these other things, but I'll tell you something. You get into those districts in South Texas, I'm going to be curious to see whether the voters that they're counting on are going to stick with them, because these are voters who are working class people who are struggling and who are going to be dealing with the cost of these policies, and I think it's going to be problematical for them.